Welcome to the 15th Annual OmniShopper Conference. My name is Rachel McDonald, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all here to Chicago. Over the next 3 days, we have a fantastic agenda scheduled, from keynote speakers to in-depth case studies to field trips, interactive workshops, cocktail receptions in the exhibit hall, and so much more. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to welcome back Phil McGee to chair the conference. Phil is no stranger to the stage here in Chicago, where he's chaired the conference for 3 years, in 2011, 2012, and 2013. So I'm really thrilled to welcome him back. Phil is the Director of Consumer and Customer Insights at Campbell Soup, where he has the dual role of leading beverage strategy and shopper insights. Outside of work, Phil is an endurance sports enthusiast, having completed 33 marathons. And this Sunday, he'll race his 9th Ironman triathlon. Amazing. So please join me in welcoming back Phil McGee.
Well, good morning, and welcome to the first annual OmniShopper Conference, aka the 15th annual Shopper Insights in Action Conference. And gosh, if you don't mind me saying, you guys are one good one. It's true. I mean, you guys are sharp, crisp. And I was not here last year, and so it's been 2 years since I've been to this conference, and it seems like everything has changed. The name of the conference has changed. The venue has changed, which Rachel, very nice, by the way. This place is terrific. And somehow everyone got so much better looking. Not sure how that happened. Clearly I missed out on something. But it is amazing how much has changed in the past 2 years. I mean, just for example, and just for fun, how many of you here have gotten a promotion sometime in the last 2 years? All right. A few shy hands going up. Be proud. Come on, you've earned it. How many of you are working in a different company today than you were 2 years ago? Quite a few, and some of the same hands, which means that some of you got a job at a new company to get that promotion. Very, very clever. How many of you are in a different industry today than you were 2 years ago? Quite a few as well. How many of you had a birthday? All right, good. Just making sure everybody's paying attention. Quite a few birthdays out there. Happy birthday to everybody. You know, 2 years does not sound like a lot of time, but when you look back on it, actually quite a bit has happened. I mean, we've all had a chance to say goodbye to some dear old friends, like Jay Leno and David Letterman and Stephen Colbert. While at the same time, we got a chance to welcome some new friends, like Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert. 2 years ago, no worries was an Australian thing. Today, no worries is an everywhere thing. Is it just me, or is everyone saying no worries now? And it was cute when it first happened, but drones look quite a bit different now than they did then, as does Bruce Jenner. My daughter told me it might be a little too soon for that. The Seattle Seahawks won a Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks lost the Super Bowl, all in 2 years' time. Gas prices dropped by more than $1 in just 2 years. Quite extraordinary. And then, of course, we all had a chance to participate, all of us, in one of the greatest debates of our time. A little bit more closer to home, we saw significant consolidation in our industry with marriages between Kraft and Heinz, Safeway and Albertsons, and more recently, Delhaize and Ahold. And following a major shift in consumer eating habits, we're starting to see quite a few big food companies gobbling up smaller challenger brand companies, like Campbell's acquisition of Garden Fresh Gourmet, General Mills and Annie's, Hillshire and Vans Natural, Treehouse and Flagstone, Hormel and Saddle Sport, White Wave and Earthbound Farms, and we almost had a chance to see Cisco acquire US Foods until a federal judge ruled against it and scared everyone away. Technology has changed quite a bit. In fact, I bet at least some of you here, at some point over the last 2 years, have changed your cable service from Comcast to Verizon, or Verizon to Comcast, and then switched back, and then traded in both for DirecTV, and then discovered that all of your favorite shows can be be found on Netflix. 2 years ago, 6 was greater than 1, and nobody gave it much thought. But today, 6 is greater than 1, and according to our friends at GSK, this changes everything. Now that may be true for seasonal allergy sufferers, but for the rest of us, the thing that really is changing everything is the continued rise in smartphone penetration. And it's not just something that's happening among millennials, it's happening across all generational cohorts. And the impact that this is having on our world is substantial. And it reminds me of a little-known fact about Albert Einstein. And I bet this is something that most of you don't know. But until the age of 4, Einstein never spoke a word. Not one word. His parents actually thought he had a learning disability. Imagine that, Einstein with a learning disability. But one day at age 4, Einstein sat down at a table with his parents to have a bowl of soup, which is purely coincidental to the fact that I work for Campbell's. And at one point, he looks at his mother, and he slowly removes the spoon from his mouth, and he says, "The soup is cold." And his parents look at each other with great excitement, and they both scream out, "Albert, you can talk!" And Einstein says, "Of course I can talk." His parents say, "Well, why haven't you said anything?" And Einstein says, "Well, because until now, everything's been just fine." And it's the same thing with consumers, because until now that everyone's walking around with mini supercomputers in their pockets, everything's been just fine. But these mini supercomputers in our pockets are dramatically changing our expectations on the speed, access, and availability of information, which in turn is dramatically changing our expectations toward pretty much everything else. So we're not just doing different things with these gadgets, they're actually making us think differently. Meaning, for example, that OmniShopping isn't just something that people do because they enjoy, it's something people have come to expect. So changing the conference name was in part due to the shift from multi-channel retailing, where you've got a collection of individual experiences, to omni-channel retailing, where you've got single experiences that are seamless and unifying. And it's much more than just the choice of shopping online or offline. It's now about consumers having the ability to search, research, buy, track delivery, make returns, leave feedback, and have a consistency of experience at any time, anywhere, along the way, with the same look, feel, and tonality of that experience along the entire journey. Now, all this, of course, is powered by technology, which has been the enabler to omni-shopping. And technology has also been the enabler of new insights in terms of shopper preferences and shopper behaviors. And in fact, technology has recently become quite a friend of the research industry. Because until recently, research was something that was either good, fast, or cheap, and the game was to pick the two that you thought would give you the most that you needed for your project at hand. But today, thanks in part to technology, we can have all three. And that's a good thing. But at the same time, I do believe that technology offers some threats to those of us who generate insights for a living. And these threats became all too real to me during the course of 1 week when I came across the following 3 quotes. The first from Philip Graves, who says, "Believe nothing we hear from consumers, half of what we see them do, and almost everything that the sales data says they've done." And Martin Ford said, "Occupations amounting to nearly half of US total employment may be vulnerable to automation within roughly the next 2 decades. And Brian Bilderberg says, "You're increasingly going to see a move toward merchandising programs that can auto-merchandise shelf sets in the least human intervention-centered way possible." So at least 3 threats come to mind when I read these. The first is our ability to tap a widely distributed crowdsourced capacity. So for example, think about Amazon's Mechanical Turk, or MTurk, which invites everyday people to participate in the research process, not panelists that are carefully recruited and managed by professional research companies. MTurk has already changed the way that many academic institutions do their research today. And not only does this put at risk a major profit pool within our industry, but without the controls, the quality controls that we have in place today, has the potential to interfere with the integrity of our insights. The second threat is the transition from knowledge worker to knowledge algorithm. So as automation becomes more sophisticated and less expensive, and technology will advance from displacing blue-collar jobs to white-collar talent. So many of you may be familiar with bots or internet robots. And these are software applications that perform simple and structurally repetitive tasks at a speed and cost that none of us would be able to do. And we know them as the people that buy all the good seats the instant that the tickets go on sale. Which is why we now all have to decode these distorted text images every time we want to check out. Which is absolutely fascinating to me because we're now in a world where everyone is assumed to be a bot until they prove themselves otherwise. But not all bots have malicious intent. Many top media firms, they use bots in order to scrape the internet and other large data sets for relevant content, and then they integrate that into intelligently written and accurately interpreted analyses, which, come to think of it, sounds a lot like what we do. The third threat is advances in machine learning. Now, to fully appreciate this threat, you first have to rid yourself of the commonly held belief that computers can only do what they are specifically programmed to do. Because not only can they learn from their own discoveries and update their own algorithms based on this learning, but they're now beginning to encroach into areas that many of us have assumed to be the exclusive province of the human mind. They're beginning to demonstrate curiosity and creativity, which also sounds a lot like what we do. Now, I'm not sharing this perspective to frighten anyone, but rather just to give you something to think about as you attend the sessions over the next few days. Because what all this means is that at some point in the not too distant future, while insights will always be at the core of business decision making, it may just not come from people like us, with our jobs and our titles and our backgrounds. Rather, they may come from data scientists and their machines. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're competing with technology necessarily. I mean, on the one hand, I think we should embrace it. Because, well, it keeps working while we get to go home nights and weekends. And I'll take that trade. But at the same time, on the other hand, I do believe that there's an opportunity to protect ourselves from obsolescence by being even better at things that technology may never be good at. And that is to gain an even deeper understanding of consumers as complex human beings and convert that understanding into breakthrough ideas, which also sounds a bit like what we do. And there's real value creation there. An IBM study of 1,500 CEOs said that the most important thing for their companies is to be more creative and to continuously innovate. So rather than selling up a new version of last year, it's coming up with breakthrough ideas. But I think there's a big gap between where we are today and where we need to be. Otherwise, these CEOs wouldn't say it's what their companies need most. So what's the gap? Well, let me put it this way. I have a new senior manager on my team. Let's call her Deirdre Forcillo. And Deirdre is new to Shopper Insights, and so to get her up to speed quickly, I gave her a download on the state of Shopper Insights from my perspective. And I started by saying that much of Shopper Insights today is, well, let's just say there's room for improvement. And I say that because many of us, suppliers, practitioners, myself included, lack a foundational understanding of the disciplines that unlock true Shopper Insight. And I'm referring to disciplines like behavior economics, which includes an understanding of biases and heuristics, as well as the importance of goals and context in driving behavior. As well as evolutionary biology, where we learn about cognitive and physical self-preservation and what drives visual attention. And cognitive psychology, where we specifically hear and learn about the importance and role of emotion in decision-making and the flaws and limitations of human memory. I mean, we routinely overestimate consumers' ability to articulate what motivates their choices, their ability to recall the past and predict the future. While at the same time, we underestimate the importance of emotion, heuristics, and context as we explain the behaviors that we observe. So consequently, despite our efforts, we often fail to identify the human truths that reveal the mechanics behind decision-making, satisfaction, and loyalty. So my challenge today, and that's part of my job as chairman, is to challenge us all to be better, is to become, if you're not already, students of consumer behavior. Go beyond what you'll pick up in on-the-job training and seek out books, or papers, or podcasts, or whatever will give you a deeper understanding of humans and all of our imperfections. Because when you do, you'll not only find that you're creating more value by doing much more interesting work, because you'll know better than not to. But you'll also find that you're much less likely to be replaced by an algorithm at some point in your career. And besides, much, or maybe even most of what we'll ever know about consumer behavior is yet to be discovered. So there's still plenty of room for pioneers. Now, having said that, if you are a technology guru, then the challenge to you is by all means exploit that to the fullest. Because Moore's law says that today, technology's speed and capacity is twice that it was 2 years ago, and will be twice as big 2 years from now as it is today. Which means that there is just as much opportunity to learn in the contributions in that space too. And the good news is, this conference has something for everyone. If your interest is more in the technology path, then you're very much going to enjoy the keynotes from Jonathan McDonald and Jaron Weiner, both who are going to talk about advances in technology and their implications for retail. We'll also hear from Jonathan Jaglin, who's going to help us imagine what 3D printing in the future looks like. Keith Colburn is going to share his lessons as a digital retail practitioner from his days at Fresh Direct, dunnhumby, and Safeway. David Schweidel will take us on the path from data to insight to action. And Vibram Tang is going to talk about data engines that simplify our world by doing and making decisions on our behalf. Now, on the other hand, if your interest is more in consumer behavior, then you won't want to miss a talk by Haiyu Jin, who's going to talk about China's emerging consumer culture. Daniel Pink's going to talk about persuasion as it relates to buying and selling. And Neil Howe is going to talk about millennials and motivation. Of course, we also have 2.5 days of breakout sessions on both topics, hosted by many of you in the audience. And then please don't rob yourself of the opportunity to visit next door where we've got the suppliers who are going to update our knowledge of research technology and new methodology breakthroughs on how to further tap our human understanding. It's very rare you get this all under one roof in one day, so please make sure you take advantage of it. But for now, sit back, relax, and prepare to be wowed as we kick off the 2015 OmniShopper Conference. Thank you. Before I introduce our first speaker, I do have some housekeeping notes that you are going to be interested in hearing about. So to begin with, we do have some new features this year that haven't been here in the past. Today there's an interactive workshop. It's a storytelling workshop from 2 to 4. And then there's also an Omni Asian panel discussion from 4 to 5:30. Both are going to be in Pacific 3. So they're back-to-back, so you'll have a chance to visit both if you'd like to. Tomorrow there is a Trend Trek tour, and this is a tour of inspirational spots around Chicago. If you have already registered for this, then meet at the registration desk. The bus leaves at 2 o'clock and return at 5:30. I understand it is full at this point, but there is a waiting list. Some people may not have shown, which tends to happen. So if you want to get on the waiting list, just go to the registration desk and we'll take care of that. And then on Wednesday, if you've never been to Italy, so Italy is a retailer, Italian retailer, which is difficult to explain. It's an experience in and of itself. There's a bus leaving at 11 o'clock on Wednesday to go to Italy. Space may still be available for this, and again, go to the registration desk if you want to sign up for that. Secondly, we will be having question and answer sessions for 2 of our keynote speakers, both Jonathan and Dan, and they'll be immediately following their keynotes. It's on the updated agenda. We do have microphones in both of these aisleways, and so if you do have a question, and please don't be shy, we've got a half hour for Q&A. So we're counting on you guys to come up with some great questions. Just form lines behind the microphones, and we'll make sure that everyone's question gets answered. Dan's going to have a meet and greet after his keynote tomorrow between 10:30 and 11. There's a bookstore in the exhibit hall, so that's where you get a chance to meet Dan. And then, of course, I mentioned the exhibit hall. It is open every day, all day. So, work it in whenever you can. During breaks, between sessions, whatever works best for you. One thing that's very important to this conference is speaker evaluations. The IIR takes pride in themselves of only having the industry's best speakers, and they do so by inviting back only those which score well on the speaker evaluations. And of course, they can only make that determination if they have speaker evaluations to refer to. Each day, you're going to get a Survey Monkey sent to you via email, and just please fill it out. It won't take much time, but it really will make that much difference toward next year's conference. Next, there is an app that you can get from the Apple Store. It's an OmniShopper app, so it's got updated agendas. It also has conference participants, so if you want to connect with someone, it's a great way to communicate back and forth, or just find out who's here. All right, the next two things you're definitely going to want to know about because they involve drinks. There is a complimentary cocktail reception both today and tomorrow. It's at 5:30. And it's 1 hour. I believe it's in the exhibit hall. And then tomorrow night, there is a party which is hosted by Quirks. It's at a place called The Gauge, G-A-G-E. You can Google it, and it'll show you where it is. There are free drinks and apps, but transportation is not provided. So just find your way there and back, and everything else is taken care of. All right. So those are the housekeeping notes. And so at this point, I have the privilege of introducing our first speaker, who is a trends expert, and he's going to be expanding our thinking about change and how it impacts the future, just as he's done for senior executives at some of the most successful global companies like Google, Apple, P&G, Unilever, Nestle, Lego, Heineken, and IKEA. Among his many accomplishments, he developed the Ministry of Sound's commercial strategy. He launched a Sky TV channel. He created Ogilvy's worldwide mobile strategy, was the youngest chairman ever of the British Music Industries Association. He's authored 2 books, Business Poison and 28 Thoughts on Digital Revolution, and he founded the Thought Expansion Network. Here to help us better understand the forces that will shape our future business and retail environment, please welcome Mr. Jonathan McDonald.
How many marathons? 33 marathons. I did one. Never again.